Well,
Hello,
hello,
everybody.
Internet.
Welcome to the first ever installment of the hopefully monthly series, Seasonal Dumpster Dive, where we
Whoa,
go
seasonal dumpster.
to my anime list and pick some of the lower rated shows and give our comprehensive opinions on them after watching hopefully the whole season in a month.
Yeah.
So this will
Well,
hopefully be every month.
sometimes the early months will be,
Yes.
that's gonna be a
But
problem. But like later
yeah,
on, yeah, it's gonna get better.
we just need to watch as much as we can in
Yes.
a month. And we will
Yes.
give our reviews
And
based on that and either trash on the show or recommended, depending upon its quality.
depending on the quality.
Do keep in mind, these reviews are purely
Well,
subjective, depending upon our
yeah.
appearance. You can enjoy the show way more, and we can not. It's purely up to personal opinion.
But it's also a way to get
Yeah.
you into the show of
Yes.
yeah.
And today's installment, we are covering two anime off, I believe it's the spring 2022 roster.
Yeah, it's the spring 22 roster.
The
By the
shows
time of this
for
recording, it is gonna be late,
it's
so
gonna be
summer. Yeah, summer is
Yeah,
coming
well, the
around.
summer roster will have been out and we'll have already picked our shows.
Yep.
So
And that was
today
technically from this
on
recording. It is
early
today's.
summer.
Yeah, it will be summer, but I'm saying like
Yeah,
by the recording of this video, it is last month.
yeah. Still, you get the
But
point.
you get the point, viewers.
Obviously, there's recording delays. That's not anything new. Today's monthly picks are for me,
Last month.
M.A.M. Warrior at the Borderline
By you.
by
By you.
what?
You're gonna be
Yeah,
talking about it.
I said my pick is
Yeah,
I don't
and
know
then.
why.
Well, I was gonna say for your name, but I was gonna see.
Reviewed by Joshua,
Yep.
obviously, but
And then for me, my pick is Black Rock Shooter Downfall by Jay Yotaro on my channel.
yeah, the way you say "by" it makes it sound like, oh, they're created by. It would be like
Oh,
they know
I'm
who's
talking about.
reviewing. Yeah, you're saying "by" as if we created the Of
Yes,
course, we created the
we
shows.
created the shows. Yes.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're having more problems stating things than I am. I thought I was gonna be the fucking cracked one
Nah,
coming into
I'm
this.
the cracked one. But
But
anyways,
yeah,
leading
so
into yours.
without further ado, I'm going to start off here. M-AIM, a very annoying name to try to pronounce. I don't know if that's exactly how they pronounce it, is a semi-modern action sci-fi mecha show which takes place in the near 21st century, the year 2061, in which, in a plotline similar to Code Geass, another notable mecha,
Yes.
Japan has been over time invaded and fought over, and it, unlike in Code Geass, instead of being ruled under by one monarch, the Britannians, the land of Japan is under the hostile, oftentimes hostile, inhabitation by the NAC, the North American group, Asia. It's just called Asia. It's kind of funny because they all have like really fancy names, and then you just have Asia, and the Federacy of Eurasia, and a few other smaller groups. So it's basically sort of political. It doesn't go as in depth as a show like Code Geass does with the deep politics, but it takes place in a very similar setting where Japan has basically been fractured, and the Japanese citizens don't have as much free rights and reign as they should. Our main character is Amo Shiba. He starts off as a sort of tinkerer, mechanic. He likes to get his hands dirty, make some technology in his free time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he recently, in the beginning, he found a facility for these robots, the robots which are called AMAIM, which are normally autonomous robots because the wars are waged by automated proxy robots, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he has found his own in this facility and has been scavenging for parts with his friends to rebuild this as a hobby. But one day on his way back, a mysterious capsule lands, right?
Ooh.
And when he goes to said capsule, he finds that it is actually the housing unit for a autonomous AI for the AMAM, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's an AI for the AMAM, which they quickly become friends. And this boy who would seemingly be normal gets quickly whipped up with two others whose names are Goshin and Shion. They're the three main pilots of these big fancy human controlled robots. They're actually in the cockpits and everything and
Okay.
controlling it.
So
So
that's
they
more like
have
the mecha.
automated units, but they have the assistance of these AI who have this representation as little chibi characters, right? Who are all based off like creatures like his you know those statues, right? The like lion type
Yeah, the
statues.
lion statue, dragon
That's
statues. Okay.
yeah, that's Shiba's little companion, and Goshin's is like a fox,
Oh,
and Shion's is like a reindeer, and they all have their own personalities and everything because they're supposed to be like a conscious AI, right?
that's
So they
cool.
become the three big dogs of the resistance, where they're like the big fighting force because they all pilot their own mechs, which are the
Mm.
most powerful because they have all this new technology and are controlled by humans, where they work
Mm.
under the resistance named Yatagarasu. I
Mm.
don't know exactly how to pronounce it.
Mm.
And it basically has him get quickly whipped up from a civilian life to being on the run to working for the resistance to fighting in these huge battles.
Mm.
It's closer to a shonen. It doesn't cover it has times where it gets close to covering dark topics, like it covers some things like blackmail on a high city state level, labor, unwilling labor, that kind of stuff. But it doesn't go as deep into them as like your darker political metas, such as Code Geass. But
Mm.
I'd say if you're looking for a nice show that doesn't, you're not going into it for that juicy lore. That
Mm.
you're not going in for the most out of it in story, but it has a nice basic story, and it has action that I'd say is worth it. They implement what CG they do implement. They implement pretty well. They have their ups and downs.
Mm.
It's not crazy, but I'd say if you want to sit down and watch a mecha, because it's a pretty good one. The mech designs are similar, I'd say. At least the big mechs, like the piloted ones, are kind of similar to Gundam.
Okay, so it's more like a Gundam.
Like if you there will obviously be a picture up of the main mech,
Yeah.
Shiba's mech just looks like the main mech from Gundam. It looks shockingly identical, not exactly, but it looks really damn close. And
Mm.
like the main three look like they're out of Gundam, where the others kind of have a more military futurist look to them, depending
Mm.
upon. I do like how they kept the factions separated in it. You have a pretty good way of distinctivizing which group is which by the mechs that they have, but they also keep it pretty grounded.
Mm.
And it has its ups and downs. You're definitely not going into it for a deep story, though. Definitely not.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a
Okay.
nice, semi-lighthearted shonen that has its action moments and plot lines. But now I
Yeah.
will pass the torch on over to Jay for his basic summary of
Yeah.
Black Rock Shooter.
Yeah. Black Rock Shooter Downfall. Or I'm gonna say Downfall because there is a show called Black Rock Shooter. I will
I'm
give
assuming
actually some history behind the
you're gonna
original
cover
Black.
both parts.
I'm going to cover a little bit of the first one. Mostly I'm going to cover Downfall because that's the seasonal, but I'm going to give you some
Yeah.
more like information behind the
Well, you
reason
obviously
why.
need the context.
Yeah, you need the context. So, the Black Rock Shooter actually is surprisingly when I looked into it, I watched it as well. I watched the first the first part of the series. Um Actually, this is going to be surprising for you, Josh, that it's actually inspired by Miku. Hatsune Miku.
Miku? Hatsune Miku?
Yes,
Really?
it was the actually it was an artist that drew like a different variation of her,
Uh-huh.
like in a darker
What?
theme.
Yeah,
And
okay.
so the main character very much looks identical to Hatsune Miku.
Okay, yeah, the
And
name Black Rock Shooter and Hatsune Miku definitely do not connect
and
together.
the funny part is, it was also one of Hatsune Miku's songs is actually titled Black Rock Shooter, and also got that inspiration
Huh,
by that music video as well. So it went from a picture to a music
interesting.
video, and now into a full series.
That's very interesting.
I have
Please do
I
go on.
had I had to hold on to telling you that because it is such a huge thing. I was like, what?
Yeah, no, I have no clue how the fuck they connected. Cause like, for some context, me and Jay have both talked a little bit
Yeah,
respectively
you're
about
respectively
our
like
series,
non-spoiler
avoiding
part.
major points. We've
Yeah.
talked respectively about our series to each other during this month period, and I'm not saying anything, but from what he has told me, this connection with Hatsune Miku makes it
Completely different.
interesting.
Yes, yes. It makes it completely interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
does it tie in at all to Hatsune Miku anymore, or
it
is it just
doesn't. It
purely
doesn't.
to the
It,
Black
it
Rock Shooter and the
it
character
doesn't
design?
tie like the story portion of
The story is unique.
the story's unique. Yeah, it's not
Okay.
nothing related. It's the
Because I was
inspiration.
gonna say that's a hell of a Hatsune Miku story.
Yes, yes. The way that it is, it's an inspiration. It's not a
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
not off of the
So
story
so
of
its
Hatsune
origin
Miku.
story started as an
Yeah, it started
offshoot
as an
from
offshoot.
Hatsune Miku.
Yeah,
That is interesting, but please do go
that
on.
is interesting. The original series, I'll talk a little bit right now, is that
Go ahead.
the original series it takes a story that drama and action together,
Hmm.
but separate at the same time. You have you have the drama happening in the real world. You have all these characters. It's about
Hmm.
um I can't remember her name. It's like Hato or Hato, whatever. Um,
That's why I have the wiki
yeah, yeah, that is fair. You got the wiki. I don't have the
to
wiki
remember
on
to
this
to
one.
make sure I'm getting name
Yeah,
spelling right.
I will edit. Don't worry. But
Mm.
like it's about this character following, and
Yeah,
also I didn't much care about this portion. It's just the start, so
but
you
still,
know,
you get the
still
point.
you get the
Keep
point.
going, keep
Yeah,
going.
I'm gonna keep going.
No stalling.
The the main character. It's about this main character going through middle school. So it's a middle school
Oh
group
boy,
of
not. Oh, wait, is that an anime where the characters aren't in high school?
yeah,
No
it's
shot,
an
bro.
anime
They're not
with
in
them
high
not in
school.
high school. Correction, they are in middle school.
That's a rare one.
That's a rare one. Yeah, they're in their junior high. It
Hmm.
follows this like cool character that's friends with like a childhood friend with them, but it's not the story on that show with those two characters has more of a strengthening than the actual main story plot of the
Uh
main
huh.
character with another character um that she's having struggles in her life with a like family
Who
member
the main
um
character, the
it's
offshoot character in
the
the main
offshoot
story?
character no, not the
In
offshoot
in the
in this story
in which in
the
which one? The
story
main
main
story or the side part with the middle school?
the middle school portion.
The,
The
the
middle
middle
school
school
portion.
side character
Yeah,
has
the middle school
troubles.
one of the side characters I'll bring up on screen, obviously,
Yeah.
is she has heavy drama in her life that
Hmm.
her family member friendish is pretty much doing a whole yandere to her, not to a point of to
What?
murder anyone, but keep her isolated to everyone.
Like,
And
is this love interest Yandere from a family member, or is this like
it's
I'm
a
possessive of you
I'm
Yandere?
possessive over you,
Okay,
yandere,
because
and
typically
I
when
will.
Yandere is brought up, it's like
Yeah, it's like killing people.
as
Yeah,
in a
no.
love interest type thing.
Yeah, no. It's not much of
Less
a
well,
love
the
interest
killing
though.
people's incorporated, but the main thing with Yandere is a love
Yeah,
interest. That is
yeah.
Yandere, because Dere is in
It is
love.
a it is kind of like they love but not well, it's awkward.
Hmm.
Um
I see.
but it's a bunch of drama with her
Hmm.
and trying to figure out, and then later in the story you're figuring out why is this main portion of the story in this other portion of the story at the same time. This is still the
Hmm.
normal Black Rock shooter, not Downfall. The action
That we
portion
know.
of the story is it takes in a completely different world that is their egos and they're fighting.
Persona?
Yeah, it pretty much. But and the funny part is the way that you watch it, the drama portion, like the real life drama portion, feels like a Ghibli movie. It feels like you're watching a Ghibli movie of it, where this action one is actually 3D. This is the 3D portion of the, like,
So
the
it
series
switches from 2D to 3D depending upon
on the
where they are?
Yep. So
That's I
it's
don't think
cool.
I've ever seen that much when it
Yeah,
comes
so
to like animation
it
style
is
changes.
2D in the real life, but 3D animation. And the 3D is really good.
Okay, if the 3D is good, then that's not a detractor.
Yeah.
We'll obviously have to pull up some clips to prove that.
Yeah.
Because the
Granted,
anime
it is
community is
a
really shy
yeah.
to CG because
Yeah.
Berserk 2016.
This is a 2013, if I remember correctly. Like, it's an old film, but it still looks very prominent.
It still looks good, like
it still looks good as a visual. If you look deeply into like the animation of the 3D, you can kind of see there's some janky here and there.
Well, yeah,
but
that's
just
nitpicking
natural.
deeply.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
nitpicking.
have to nitpick it to see that.
Yeah.
You couldn't like sit down and be complaining about the problems. You'd have to actually nitpick into it. Like, how noticeable on a scale of 1 to 10? How noticeable would you say that the CG problems are on a like episode by episode basis?
If you're saying like how bad it is, on
like how noticeable are the janky in how noticeable is the jank on an episode to episode basis on a scale of 1 to 10? This is obviously not the best way to summarize it.
I would say like a 5 or 6, like, or a 4. Like it's there's
Okay.
some noticeable.
So you're holding this in pretty high praise then.
It is a high praise. There is some janky, but like, but that's what gives it the nice taste to how the janky portion of it. Like, they ties the janky portion.
So you think the jank
it fits well? It fits well.
You think the jank improves the experience rather than detracts from it?
Yeah, because it's also a dark theme, and it's very it's very fast as well. So that's why it's janky. It adds the janky because you can see like what happens. That's what the janky portion, but it's very fast. But that's not what we're here for.
Yeah, of course. I was just bringing it up as a question.
Now we're gonna talk about Black Rock Shooter Downfall or Dawnfall. It is a main different story that has almost the same characters from the original, but completely different way to look at them.
Same characters, different plot line.
Same characters, different plot line, different design to them, different thought process on them.
So basically, it almost completely changes them.
It's a completely different story, pretty much. Like,
that
completely. Like, if you watch,
if it completely changes them, do you think it's worth watching the OG Black Rock? If it just completely changes the seasonal?
It is 8 episode long, so it's very short, and I enjoyed it.
But would you say that like the experience is worth?
The experience is pretty well. It's well coming to it. All
right.
Granted, you know, I had to pirate my show where you had to do.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing, that's something to bring up with Black Rock. The unfortunate thing with Black Rock is that it wasn't on any mainstream services as far as we could tell.
Yeah.
So we had to go into alternate sources, but
yeah. But
I'm just asking in terms like, did you think that because the entire plot line changed, would it be worth experiencing the original?
It is definitely worth.
Doesn't tie in.
It is definitely the worth. It is.
All right. Well, I trust your judgment. So. Yeah.
Now we're actually on to what I was actually seasonal. I had to give some history behind, because you know.
It makes sense.
It makes
having the history.
Yours is a continue. Mine is a complete offshoot of.
Mine was a 2-parter in one season technically, but one part came out in a while ago, and the second part came out this season. So.
Yeah. So you have. Anyways, we're here for Black Rock Shooter Dawnfall. Dawnfall, it takes place in a time of an era where humanity is on the brink of death. Everyone's wearing masks. Yeah, it's pretty much apocalyptic. Everyone's wearing masks. Like, every human. Besides, you know, the main character. The main character, the whole premise is, you know, this year is 2062 AD.
Damn.
Yeah, it has been 20 years since the failure of massive labor of Automata project, or animated project. But The whole point is that, you know, humans on the brink of destruction. There's these animated machines. So there's these robots that's, you know, eliminating humans at cost. So it's having humans to
So
fight for the
I
life.
like zombie apocalypse mixed with iRobot.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so the first episode, I'm gonna sum it up pretty much. It follows the main character that is also the, you know, Hatsune Miku character inspired.
Yeah.
They are called Empress. That's the name. That's the name of this character. Her name is Empress. In the original Black Rock Shooter, this main character was called Black Rock Shooter. That's
Nah.
also in this show, they're also called Black Rock Shooter, but they don't really call her that. That's
like
her
Black Rock Shooter, like a code name, something
it
like
is
that.
it is a code name, but her real name is Empress.
Mm-hmm.
And so she wakes up from this like test tube, whatever, and she crumbs out. Going to mention Dawnfall, not for kids. I'm going to put this right out before I continue talking from right now. Is not for
Not a
kids.
show. Unlike mine, this is not a show for all ages. Because mine, sure, you can watch it as a younger kid. You won't understand a lot of it, but you can watch it as a younger kid. From what I've heard of this show,
It is not for kids.
avert your child's eyes.
Because the main character climbs out butt naked. Obviously, it's covering the parts, but they're no clothing, just straight up out of the tube, all naked, right? Has no memory, amnesia, right?
Amnesia.
Yeah, and so she looks around, sees action happening, sees two kids in trouble. Obviously, they're wearing masks, and they're, you know, trying to survive for their life in this underground civility that Empress
Facility.
went into. Yeah, civil, whatever. I English well.
You're good.
Yes. Obviously she saves them. She has no amnesia. She has amnesia, so she doesn't know how to use a gun, a firearm, like a whole ass pistol. So in the scene, you see her pop off, and then just start beating the death to the robot with the back of the pistol, like the handle portion, just whack, whack, whack.
So it seems like this episode is definitely a.
It definitely throws you.
It's one of those throw you in type.
Yeah, it throws you
intros.
in. It throws you in into this intro, and so you continue. So she figures out like, oh, okay, this is how you use a firearm, and then, you know, because the kid's taught, you know, how to use a gun, because the older brother knows how to use a gun, but the little sister does not.
Yeah, apocalyptic type.
Yep, apocalyptic
Everyone knows
type.
how to use a gun.
Everyone knows how to use weaponry, and, you know, this character comes out amnesia. They continue on forward, and they pretty much, you can say that they end up meeting with a bunch of people, and these are like military trained people. Like they're
the typical like military stronghold type. They're the last remaining of whatever government. They have a stronghold.
They're called peace building forces. They're peace building. That's what their force is called.
Which means they have nothing to do with building the peace and everything to do with mass genocide. God.
Yeah. It has the main character, the main leader of this force is called Colonel David.
That is a regular ass name.
It is definitely a regular ass name.
You don't usually find those in anime. Just David.
Yeah, David. That is his name. He's a very, you know, he's old, but he knows everything, all tactics, and
old wise type.
Yeah, he's old wise, very prominent, very athletic as well. He can kick ass. Holy shit! At some of the scenes. And then eventually we get to meet. We go into this civilization. Obviously, they get attacked and whatever, but we meet the other main character of the group. And her name is Monica. Monica. That's now there's your anime name.
Yeah, a bit more there.
Yep. Her business, she's very technical. Like, she knows what she's doing on tech. She actually ends up making a GPS where GPS doesn't work. Like there's no internet in the world, but she ended up managing to scavenge and
Well, there's no
work a
satellites.
GPS. Yeah, there's still some working satellites, so she was able to create it. Um, so this is the main group at the time. They continue on forward on their adventure, and we're gonna talk about the main villain. Oh boy, the main villains.
Is this
At
getting into spoiler stuff, or
It's
are we
not
just
getting spoiler stuff. I'm talking about the main villain. The
okay?
main
So
villain. There are a couple main villains. There's one
okay,
main villain that I have no idea because I haven't finished the show, so I can't give you much information on
yeah.
one
You should
character.
probably
But the
just
other
cover the
character,
first one,
yeah, I'm
so
gonna
that would be the
cover the
spoiler.
one that mostly you see prominent.
Yeah, yeah.
The main villain of this protagonist, or what we like to call the bad guys, the
hmm
they're called Smiley.
What a name.
Or no, that's the bad guy. His name is Smiley.
hmm
But the group is called Educational Instruction or Insertion. I'll pull up the word. Uh, but it's a they look human, but they don't human. They bleed like human, like in the scenes. They bleed like a human, but they act more
Yeah.
robot than human. Um,
Mm,
Smiley
I
is
see.
completely a doll. Um,
Huh.
yeah, completely a doll. Granted, like the first episode, there's a scene of him doing the business with a female.
Oh boy.
I will talk a bit more about that when it comes to the portion of the video when we talk about spoilers.
Wonderful. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. And eventually later in the story, we will also meet the actual like the main robots that fight. So we got Empress,
Yeah.
and then with her other robot friends, she gets Deadmaster. That's also in the original Black Rock shooter, and she gets
hmm
Strength. That was also from the original Black Rock shooter.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are the characters that's
So
transferred from the
yeah.
Black Rock shooter
So
story to now Black Rock shooter Dawnfall, with
yeah.
completely different designs and
Yeah.
completely different characters, but having the same name. And pretty much
Yeah,
you
because
can
it seems
see.
like so a few things. One, it seems like the way the Black Rock shooter operates is the first season was purely based off the whole Hatsune Miku connection, but once it gets to Dawnfall, it seems like that's when they decided to
Completely
take the
different.
original route where they decided to completely base it off an original story.
Well,
Also,
originally Black Rock Shooter, the original one, is off its own story as well. It's just
well, yeah, but you know what? They
yeah,
decided to abandon the connections they had to
yeah. And
Hatsune.
this whole episode of the show of Black Rock Shooter has the also the mix with 3D and 2D.
Yeah, so
Sometimes you can't
it
see the
continues to change.
2D, and sometimes you can't see the 3D.
hmm
It doesn't have the portion of like the two split worlds. It's all in one world, so you have the 3D and the 2D.
So it's a
Um,
melding.
it's a
Yeah.
melding. It looks better on like a point of
Improved.
view. Like it looks improved, but there's some obviously when it comes to 3D and CGI, there's always some janky into it because
Yeah.
so
And so it seems like your show's very focused on its bombastic violence, to put it in the best way.
bombastic violence, storytelling, and the
Yeah,
characters.
because the way you make it sound is it's very heavily action focused. There's a lot of brutal
Yeah.
uh, attacks that come out. There's a lot of people going ham. That
Yeah.
type of show.
Oh yeah, and the fight scenes are amazing. Soundtrack is
Yeah.
amazing. Um,
hmm
like it's overall pretty decently to watch. I would
It sounds good, although very strange.
very
So
strange, yeah. It is.
yeah.
Now,
Okay.
after this point on this video, I will say,
Fair warning to everyone
yep,
in the audience here. This is the end of the first part of the video, the general review. This is your, hey, this is what you
warning.
do to get into the show. Now we are transferring into where we talk about big moments, things that made us like the show. This is where we travel completely from like the most minor of spoilers when it just comes to who's who and what's happening to we are talking about character moments, certain characters in detail. This is where we go all out and just talk about the shows as a whole. So this is your spoiler warning for anyone who wants a unspoiled viewing of either of these shows. I recommend you click off now, and I think if you want an unspoiled of one and non-unspoiled of other, we'll put timestamps in for
Yep.
when one review begins and one review ends. So this is your fair warning. We are now transferring to full spoilers
Yep.
for both shows.
Yep.
So
All right.
if you want to watch it, get out of here. So I believe we are beginning with mine.
Yep. Going back to you.
So with Crucial Moments, the show, it starts off, I'd say the way that anime, it starts off very slow.
Okay,
the-
so it's not fast paced, like it's jump you into like mine.
The beginning is not a lot of jumping. The main character physically jumps around because the first few episodes have to deal with him first showing who he is, him working on his robot,
usual
and then
story.
and then it goes into him getting caught with his robot. So what he ends up doing is his friends get taken hostage and he gets in a standoff. So he's like, so he basically talks to, it was at the time, if I remember correctly, it was the Eurasian, he was in Eurasian, Federation of Great Eurasia, or FGE. If I remember correctly, they were in his territory, and he basically just goes, I am here to stop anyone who would treat the Japanese people badly or any people badly. I am the hero, or whatever. Basically, he has his big speech where he proclaims that he fights for morals, and then in order to get his friends out of dying, he says, oh, I don't care about them. Them being hostages is nothing, and then he runs away and trusting that his friends wouldn't get killed because of their lack of worth.
Okay.
And then it has to deal with him going across Japan, trying to find a way to safety, and then eventually joining up with the resistance, where he first on the run meets up in Asian territory with Gashin Tezuka, who is like, the best way to put him is he's the ace of the Yatagarasu troops. He's the sniper. He has this really dope dual-barreled sniper railgun that can switch firing modes.
I'm a big key fan of snipers. So.
Yeah, he's probably one of the cool. He's also the black type design. He's the brooding. His design, he's like the dark brooding type out of the group. Because you got Amo, Shiba, the typical shonen, lighthearted protagonist. Gashin, who is the edgy boy, and then Shion, who is the sort of in the middle girl who's just there. I don't know really how to put her.
Okay.
And we first meet up with him, and he saves Ammo when he's in a tough spot, getting basically getting his shit ran because he got overwhelmed. So they eventually meet up with Yatagarasu at the base, and you meet all these characters, right? And here's where the first big thing that they end up going after comes into play. So when they're at the base, they're having a good time, right? But then an attack happens on the base, and it's from this mysterious dark anime robot that he kind of just comes in and just starts fucking terrorizing things. Like he just starts going in, and what we find out is that robot is actually, its name is Ghost, and it's responsible for killing Gashin's father a few years ago. So he has this whole, he has a whole thing where he's enraged by it because it killed his father. And we find out that this robot is capable of taking, because the whole thing is the weapons that these robots use are kind of like personnel locked to the models.
Okay.
So if you were to take one, they wouldn't fire properly because they're locked to the specific codes of said military's robot.
Cool.
But Ghost straight up picks up guns from the Yatagarasu military and starts fucking slaying with them. So it's clearly capable. Yeah, it's clearly capable of bypassing the locks, so they end up getting in a fight. They get close to destroying it actually, but it manages to escape. So that's the first big setup. Is there's this robot named Ghost that is this rogue sort of. It's not under any country. It's just out there destroying people. So it's just there, and that's part of the story. But the main story focuses on the main three and Yatagarasu going around and helping people. What I really liked what they did actually in one of the episodes was they just spent a whole episode rebuilding this Japanese town that was all in shambles, right? And they just give you this nice sweet time to get to know all of the characters, even the villagers. You get to know the villagers too,
That's
and you
dope.
get these nice moments.
Background
Like,
characters.
yeah, you learn that Shion is actually from a family of potters, so they know like pottery because there's a pottery forge on the top of a mountain in the village. So there's a whole story moment where she's like, I want to eventually rebuild the forge at my home when the war is over with my grandfather. And it's like, I like how they take the time to slow down because most shonens wouldn't necessarily do that.
Yeah.
They take the time to slow down and give you realistic character moments where they show everyone just being there. And
Hey.
also another thing they do that's really good is they show like whole episodes with the enemy factions. Like there's whole episodes dedicated to like the Russian force going and fighting Ghost and the Asian force going and doing their own thing, right? There's whole episodes dedicated to these factions.
That's dope.
This is the first part. The first part concludes on a two-part episodic series,
Yeah.
which is the Battle of Oki Islands, where what ends up happening is they track Ghost to this island, and basically they're like, okay, if we don't stop him here, he's gonna wreak havoc for everyone, not just us, but everyone. And the thing is, this robot has adapted over time. It eventually got another 2 arms and these like tethers that drain energy, right? And the whole thing is, it has its limiters disabled, so it's way faster and stronger than any other robot because it doesn't regard pilot safety because there is no pilot. It's turned off all its limiters because it burns energy faster, but it counteracts that by having these like cool ass tethers that it shoots out that not only will drain power, but they can also hack enemy vehicles.
Oh, that's
They hack like,
dope.
yeah, they can hack like, because in the battle with the Russian force, Ghost hacks the air support units and has them turn on the Russian forces, and it does this a lot. So they have this whole battle where they eventually corner Ghost in a building and blow it up, right? But it walks out completely unscathed, like nothing happened basically.
Damn. They had like the whole
And
like main
yeah,
enemy
but
protect.
the good news is they find out its weak spot is that it has this heat sink on the back of it that is making sure that it doesn't overheat critically and fucking explode.
So if you shoot that, then
Yeah.
or destroy it, it just absolutely
And
just
they have this whole really cool battle. This is where they clock like all the animation in crazy, right?
Oh, so this is where they put
And
all the budget in.
yeah, especially at a certain part. But Goshin and Shion both get crippled. Goshin loses his robot's leg, and Shion loses because Shion's robot can fly. By the way, I forgot to mention this. It can fly, and it's really fast after this whole thing. But it's lost its ability to fly, so it's just Amo versus Ghost. And he basically says, "All right, we're disabling the limiters," and they just go crazy in some like fucking hand-to-hand brawl, sword on sword. It's
That's
really fucking
dope.
cool. There will be a scene up on the video. It's a really intense fight, and it eventually ends in his victory. But there's a catch. It's now begun to self-destruct, and
Oh,
it's gonna go
son.
critical. Yeah, so it tries to get to the ocean to cool itself down, but fucking Amo is holding it away as it's going critical, and you know it fucking he sacrifices himself basically. He holds it there. Him and his AI have a moment where it's like, you know, you can eject, right? And it's like, no, I'm here to stick with you till the end. I'm willing to die with you, as they've like bonded over the series. And they end up dying pretty much, and that's the end of part 1, which ended a really cool battle. The battle was awesome. The animation went crazy. like there was this moment where she fucking Amo MMA's the shit out of Ghost, does like a fucking kick combo. It was really cool.
Mm.
But yeah, then it transfers to the second part 8 months later. Literally, the next episode is titled 8 months later,
That's
and
awesome.
it shows all the characters after transitioning. They've tried to move on with life, and they're getting in a bigger fight because the borders have shifted because America came up with new robots with new advanced AI because little sneaky spoiler that comes in only a few episodes later. There was this like business partner that the resistance had, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, the second I saw this man, I said he's betraying them. He has the villain, I am going to betray the main character look. You will see. He has the villain, I will betray the main character
Uh,
look. And he does. He switches sides to the Americans in order to, and they salvage Ghost's core and make copies of it for the robots in the
oh
American
shit.
military. So so they all fight, they end up fighting, and there's a point where they're cornered by the new AI from America, right? They're being held down, they're being held hostage, basically. Not exactly, like their positions are being pinned down, and then a mysterious black mech shows up,
Oh no.
uncloaks, and just tears through the entire American force with relative ease. Then it uncloaks its black camo and reveals to be Amo's robot again. So he is back
Damn.
in not surprising
Well, main
twist.
protagonist. Yeah.
He's back, but there's something different. He's completely silent. Like he's changed. He doesn't talk anymore. He's more brooding, right? Like think how Goshin was at the beginning of the series, but worse for some reason.
Oh.
And he refuses to tell anyone about it. Like his team asks, the main leaders of the resistance ask, but he won't tell anyone. So then in a further up part, they do get held hostage by the American. They're in a standoff, right? The generals in the front lines. He's like, we're holding you down, and they're like, okay, we have a bunch of refugees. Let's escort them out, right?
Yeah.
But the general basically set it up so that a member inside the refugees
Is one
was
of
told
the like this one.
he would be given freedom if he shot the American robots, leading
Oh.
them to have reasonable reason to attack the
So
resistance
basically
regardless
a
of,
coup.
yeah.
Okay.
Basically it gives them free reign to shoot back because they've proven hostility.
Mm-hmm.
And then the dude just gets bodied by the general.
Well, that's fair. Okay.
But then after a fight scene, there's this standoff where Ammo's tore the top off the dude's robot, right? And he's holding his fucking blade over. Like, you know Ichigo's blade after, like, near the end of the arc when he has, like, the handle basically in the blade, like, the handle and there's the blade, right?
Yeah.
His robot has that now instead of, like, a
Okay.
typical sword. So he has the blade. He's like, order your troops to retreat and no one gets hurt, with the most deadpan expression and voice. And when the dude says no, without hesitation, by the way, this is like a normal kid a few months ago, he just drives his sword into the dude through the
Jesus.
robot without no hesitation.
Damn.
Completely cold, fucking stabs the dude and kills him. So
Damn.
the other two are concerned. They're like, what happened? But it's later on in the scene shown that he feels remorse. He was like throwing up at the river about it.
Mm.
So, but we find out the reason why. So, in the 8 months, him and the head engineer for the resistance, who were both presumed dead, actually went to this facility, which was, let me get what the name was. The name of the facility, it's Brenson Corp, and Ares was defending them. They're like a PMC company, and then Brenson Corp was or no, that's not Brenson Corp. It was a different one. I forget the name. It was like a technology thing. They were the ones responsible for the mech's AI units.
Mm-hmm.
So he's taken with them to go to their facility, where they live their lives there for a few months, right? He works in childcare for the children because they have the children on base too, so that the members don't have to go into the cities to get caught.
Yeah.
But eventually, Brenson Corp, which was led by the dude who betrayed the resistance, they broke into the building. They had like a whole swatting of the building, and they just started fucking killing people. They were just shooting left and right.
Mhm.
So Ammo and his fellow childcare people were trying to escort the children out of the building. They were armed and everything, and they were running away. But they eventually get caught, and one of his companions is killed. So
Yeah.
he's having this moment where he's sitting there fucking screaming because there are a bunch of dudes with guns pointed at him, and he's just sitting there like flinching with a pistol, pointing it at them, and then he
Yeah.
just unloads a whole fucking clip
Holy.
into one of the attackers, and he kept firing, like he didn't stop. The dude was well
Jesus.
dead 2 bullets in, and he unloaded an entire clip in and kept pulling the trigger until the leader of the private military, they end up catching up to them and killing the rest of them,
Mhm.
the rest of the invaders. And he's like, you can stop now. He's dead. And
Yeah.
he looks over at one of the children, right,
Mhm.
and the kid flinches away into another person, and he's like, holy shit, I'm a monster. So he's become completely cold because of it.
Damn.
And he finally opens up in the end because you know he had to come back
Realize.
eventually.
Yeah.
He was dealing with a lot of trauma from that because he took his first life with his own two fucking hands. He wasn't piloting a mech when he did it. He had a gun in his hands and he pulled the trigger.
Damn.
And then eventually, as the story moves on, it covers one of the things I thought was pretty cool. Because the American military was so powerful,
As
every other
usual.
group, yeah, every other group, including the resistance, formed a group alliance
Oh.
and founded a country. Basically, they founded New Japan,
Hmm.
which I thought was pretty cool because usually they wouldn't do that, but they had everyone allied together because of the bigger threat.
Yeah.
So then they went to do peace talks with the Americans, but of course, because they're the Americans, they staged an assassination on the governor in order to put, because it was Ammo and the Russian leader, they together were going to the peace talks,
Yeah.
and they used that as an opportunity to put them in captivity.
Mhm.
And then the next few episodes have to cover them escaping. Oh, also, one thing that's a bit unrelated, but it's cool. Goshin, he gets an
Mhm.
attachment for his robot, which lets him just have a giant fucking Gatling gun,
Huh.
and he uses it twice in the series to just absolutely annihilate an entire field. And I think it's really cool. I'm sorry, I just had to bring it up.
Mhm.
But yeah, and the it has to cover with them escaping because one of the leaders of the Americans gave them a key card to help the case of, oh, they're escaping, we need to invade New Japan because
Yeah.
they obviously want the territory for themselves. And the final episode I was able to watch uh
At the time.
was them just starting like the big battle. The new episode just came out today as of recording, or not today, yesterday, but
Mhm.
I didn't have the chance to watch it because we're recording now. So that will be a little surprise for everybody. But yeah, I think the story's pretty enthralling. The animation's good when it wants to be.
Mhm.
They don't have like anything crazy to their name. They're not like crazy. They're not the best in fighting. They're not the best in story. But I think the
Mhm.
story's nice.
Mhm.
It's a nice mecha. It's not like you're gonna go in and walk out like, I just had the best experience of my life, bro. I'll never be the same after that. It's not like the anime that leaves you kind of shocked and looking
Yeah.
for something similar to it for the next few months.
It's definitely
But
if you had something similar to watching that type of genre, that would be a good off.
yeah, it doesn't leave like that lasting impact like your first time watching Ava does. I know that's a
Mhm.
big comparison, but like when I talk about that feeling, I mean like when you find that anime that's so good to you, you want to find something similar, but you can't. So you have that like fucking hole left in your stomach where you're like,
Yeah.
I can't
This one.
find
Yeah.
anything.
This one will lead you there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's that type of mood. It's not gonna
All
be
right.
that. But it's a nice show to sit down and watch. The characters are nice. The soundtrack is pretty good. The soundtrack has a lot of bops in it, I'll say.
Mhm. Well.
The intro is pretty good.
Yeah.
First one's better than the second one.
Ah.
And yeah, overall, I'd say if I had to give the show like an out of 10 rating, I'd give it a considerable like 7.5 because
Not bad. Not bad.
the animation's good, The story isn't great, but it's decent.
Mhm.
The music's good, and oh, one thing I will say is a lot of the characters do look. I don't know if it's because the animators are the same, but the characters, the eyes especially, look really similar to Tokyo Revengers. The way they
Mm.
draw some of the eyes look really Tokyo Revenge.
Mm.
Like, if I would show you a example, you would see it looks pretty fucking Tokyo
Mm.
Revengers. Look, like
Mhm.
here, just for the sake of it.
Yeah,
Let me get
let
one
me
of
let me let
them.
me see this on my
Let me get a good example here. Pull it up real quick. Here's the best example of this. Yeah, like this. This is one of the examples. This is one of the main characters. I need to send this to you later anyway, so this is just getting it out of the way for one.
Yep.
So this is one of them. Like, you can kind of tell the designs.
Yeah, I can see the eyes a little bit,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it has a pretty its design art style is kind of like Tokyo Revengers. Whether that's because of the animation studio or intentional, I don't know.
Mhm. But
But
hey,
yeah, that concludes my talks on the spoiler section of M.A.M. Warriors. If this, I know it was mostly just me rambling, but that's because this is the first installment, and
yeah,
we don't know the exact way that we'll be scripting just yet.
yeah.
There's
We're
a
just
lot of stuff to
flyby
figure
off
out.
the hand, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much.
first experiment.
So that concludes my segment on M.A.M.
Time
Warriors.
for
If you would like to pick up Jay on Black Rock Shooters, this is
yep.
now the transition. I will give you the field and make commentary, Lamau.
Yep, like I was saying. Anyways, from this point on, if you were watching, at the point where I was talking about Black Rock Shooter Dawnfall, we are going to continue off that. We are going to go to understand more of the characters on who they are and what they're about. Empress, obviously the main protagonist. Um, she ends up having an ability to just absorb the robots and use them as energy to fire up a fucking beam of destruction.
What is this,
Um,
Metal Gear fucking Rising Revengeance? Fucking consume the spinal cord for energy? What?
consume the electrolyte. No, and it looks like she's the only one that could do this. Um, we're gonna go off of that. Once they met, Monica really down bad for fucking Empress. Like down bad. Like
Yuri?
you pretty much you can almost put this as Yuri. It's not.
Hey, I mean, not a
it,
detractor for most people, so.
yeah. It is not a. You're not here for the Yuri. You're here for the
Well, yeah,
story development
clearly,
and
for the
yeah.
fact of how you described it.
Yes.
I was just
Uh.
saying it as a joke.
Yes, I know. But it's the way the Empress is that she.
Mhm.
The way that they got their names off of tarot cards.
Oh, that makes sense.
They got their names off of these tarot cards that was in a um in this civility of looks to be
Facility.
orphan. Yeah, it looks to be like orphans.
Mhm.
Um, and they were looking for a special candidate that can uh to help the world at this point because there's this
Mhm.
like futuristic race. So where the robots came from is their
Yeah.
the actual main villain. Her name is Lunatic. I can pronounce this name wrong.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
I
Go
don't.
on.
This is the main protagonist. I have no much into it because I haven't finished the show, obviously.
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
but the Smiley is a antagonist that's under Lontitic, and he was looking for a a compatible woman to breed with to have his child.
Whoa.
So he is enslaving women and having, the deed in the bed. Mentioning he's a fucking doll, so his mouth moves
What?
like a doll. He is all, robot animal, like doll-like. And his abilities gets weird. I will talk about more of that. The way that
Okay.
So yeah, that's his motive. I don't know much of the motive for the main antagonist, but the way that Empress meets Deadmaster and Strength, Deadmaster is the sniper of the group. So
Mhm.
yes, another sniper character. And she's really down bad also for Empress as well. There's more down bad with her than Monica. Monica's just like, ooh, want to tinker, want to, you're a robot.
Mhm.
I want to, she's all techie. That's why she's down bad for Empress.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Deadmaster is just straight up down bad.
Mhm.
Strength is the melee character that's just like ruthless and strong, but at the same time tiny and very short-tempered. Um,
Yeah.
their weapon and strength's weaponry is just two fucking big armor hands or fists that just plows through enemies. They also
Mhm.
have bikes. The three main protagonists have Empress, Deadmaster, and Strength has bikes, correlating
Yeah.
to how they work. Uh,
Mhm.
Empress just a big fucking big bike, right? Usually the bike is used for shield and cover. How Empress uses it. Deadmaster has a big fucking Gatling gun. That's where the sniper portion comes in. But she also has a radar where she can scan people in the distance to use that sniper. Um,
I see.
and Strength just has a small vehicle. It's funny. It has like 4 or 6 wheels at the front and not so many at the back, and so it is surprisingly holding this tiny child with big ass arms, robot arms on him, on her.
Damn.
And so that's their equipment, and the way they
Mhm.
remember Empress is that back then, before humanity is almost on the brink of destruction, before that, when they're starting to come, uh they were like the last resort. They were here to help, and they did, but failed miserably. Um, and Strength and Deadmaster and Empress are the last defense. They're like the main group that, or the main protagonist is, hey, we're gonna fight the main character or the main antagonist because uh that's basic. I can't remember exactly.
Mm.
But the funny part is the person that was running the orphanage is also David's wife.
Hmm.
So they're technically kind of connected on that portion.
Yeah.
David as well. He suffers trauma. Uh,
Mm.
he he want his old family back, where his wife and daughter was abducted by Smiley, and well, you probably already know how this is going. Do not. They fail the subject of the test of can they supply the
Miracle
baby.
child.
Yep, the weird mannequin child. And
Mhm.
yes, he did have sex with the fucking kid.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this man doesn't understand.
Warning, warning, keep
Yes, yeah,
children away from this show.
this is a
Warning.
definitely not. It doesn't show the parts, but you can see the indicator. And on the indicator of this guy, Smiley, he has like a shield or like um
Mhm.
a removable plate that can just move, and that's where the thing comes out of.
Oh my
So
god.
yeah, he is a interesting
Jeez.
character. Uh, it gets bad enough that the two siblings, Naruto and Mia, yeah, I know Naruto. Not the way you spell it, and like the Naruto
That's
from
that's fine. Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
uh, they're here and there. Later in the
Yeah.
story, obviously fights happen. Boom, boom, bam, bam. I'll show some slings on here, but they're just like cool portions of, hey, this they're fighting, right? The main
Mhm.
character is fighting the bad guys or figuring out.
Yeah, of course.
So when they had to go figure out how um to unlock Empress's hidden power, they had to
Mhm.
go to where they were from, right? Where their
Yeah, the
orphanage was.
facility.
It was called Lighthouse Number 8. Um,
Ah.
And so they end up getting there, and we end up meeting a robot called Andy. Oh boy, this man had a tragical. It's tragic on how he does. Andy is a little robot that was just living a natural life, collecting bits and scraps, making toys, making all these
Mhm.
entertainment things just for a family. He was
Weird
just
version of Wally.
yeah, it's like a weird version of Wally. He understands human emotions. He understands all these things, and he's
Mhm.
helping out with the main group, trying to figure out um, how to unlock the ability for Empress to have the power,
Uh-huh.
the hidden power. So, how he goes out is we meet another character before that surprisingly is still David's daughter that's alive, not dead. We'll find out later on that the wife ends up getting shot and getting, finds up dead. Um,
Jeez.
and so the child named Charlotte, she ends up just becoming a right hand man or right hand
Mhm.
woman to Smiley, basically helping him, trying to figure out, and still trying to see if she's also compatible with him because I guess
Uh,
Daddy, hi, yes, weird.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Yeah. No.
they brainwash her to think that she's the only father, but no, not really. David's the father. Um,
Holy.
um,
Okay.
so
That's a lot.
so when David figures out that, you know, Charlotte is alive, he thought that they were gone and missing from the collapse of the chaos. Uh,
Yeah.
he ends up seeing Charlotte and he's like, oh, and that's when he's like suffering the trauma even more. He's like, I don't want to kill her. That's my daughter.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even though she doesn't remember anything about David. Obviously, he pans
Emily.
back the flashback of him hanging out with his daughter,
Long ago.
playing
Uh-huh.
baseball, right?
That man playing baseball.
Yep, a dad playing
Ugh.
baseball with the daughter,
A
and
lot of context.
talking about how you can become a major league if you grow up long enough back in my time because this was back the time
I
where
used to
the
play
collapse was
college
just
ball once. Could have went pro
college.
if I didn't join the Navy. I'm sorry.
um but and the way Andy goes out is that
Mhm.
when they leave the civility, um
Facility.
yes, civility, uh he hands Andy a baseball, right?
Mhm.
It's an old baseball and throws catch with it. And because Andy's like, I've never really played this sport. Right, so he
Yeah.
catches it and he's all happy and he puts the glove and a baseball right next to each other on like a scrap mechanic version
Uh-huh.
of a character and gets impaled by fucking Charlotte. It's sad.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ!
yeah, Charlie just says die and just impales Andy, the little robot,
Whoa!
because he was like he's all emotional and happy and he's like realizing what humans is like and he finally gets
Oh,
to mute what humans are and he just impales as soon as he puts down the ball in the glove.
bro.
So Charlotte saw
That's
something.
that's tough.
Yep.
Jeez.
So they move
Yeah.
on. They figure out where they need to go to get Empress's ability. Empress's ability.
Mhm.
Uh, they get to a
Is
point
the ability the
where
absorb thing?
no, she knew how to absorb. She just
Oh.
learns a bit more how to do it. No, this one is the
Hmm.
power that can just straight up just destroy or beat the main antagonist.
Oh, so this is like the
Yeah,
MacGuffin power,
yeah, it's the
basically.
MacGuffin power pretty much.
Okay.
And so they end up have to going to an island. They had to go to an island to if I remember correctly, yeah, they hit. I think it's before or after. I can't remember exactly. I'm going off of memory. That they go to an island that is full of uh, weird not robots, but like weird amalgamations of creatures.
Mhm.
And they had to get to a point where it is where Empress and Strength gets to. They had to go to this island that mentioning that the sea is, I think it was like white silver or silver or iron silver, whatever. But pretty much, you touch it, you fucking die. You can't do
Oh,
anything. Like you just
oh,
touch it once, it burns you completely. Like
jeez. Okay.
it's enough
Like
that,
even a drop?
yeah, even a drop will just burn through your whole skin, like the whole
Damn.
body. It is bad.
Holy.
Yeah, and these are
Yeah.
what the robots like use. Or like
Like
they're
for
like
fuel or something.
for fuel. Some robots use it for fuel. Um, some, not all. Like the bigger
Got it. Yeah.
robots. Yeah.
Yeah. So like.
And this was sent by, uh, from outer space, like where the robots originally came from a different planet or whatever, from the main
So they're also
antagonist.
extraterrestrial.
Yeah. They end up going on, and they find a. Yeah, if you know the human biology of a female, Empress gets to the point where it looks like a straight up uterus.
Oh.
Like a
Yeah. So
whole
this is.
shape, a whole shape of a whole
Oh.
uterus.
So
And you know what the two sacks are? One is missing, the other one contains her power. So he ends up grabbing that, alerting.
Oh.
The whole island goes into a panic,
Mm-hmm.
and they ended up taking the ship, fighting an epic battle with these like swarm enemies. Like they're tiny like bugs, but they're also very destructive.
Yeah.
Like one thing can kill you. Like one of those little tiny swarms can just instantly kill you, and there's thousands upon thousands trying to attack you. It's not fun.
Jeez. Yeah.
Um,
No.
they move on to a point where they get into the frozen area of, or an ice area, like an ice mountain area, to go into this facility to give her this power, right? Like completely give it to her to go into another test tube. This is where she gets her memories, a flashback. You saw a flashback beforehand, but this one gets more of a more in-depth of what happened in the real world. What happens is that the main antagonist, you know, brought down everyone and attacked the main three, Empress, Dead Master, and Strength, impaling Empress in the eye with a soul blade, like a whole blade, just through the eye, and that's where the blue flame, if with a scene I'm gonna pop up on the screen, the blue flame, that is basically her power, and she just impales her in the head, and she's conscious at this point. She's still like operating and like feeling the pain and just like, ow, this is hurting. My whole left eye is just impaled through the skull. Like the whole blade is through her skull. And dragging her. She's trying to resist, obviously, because, you know, main villain. Everyone's, you know, destructive in the distance. And then they pans into an area where they see a cross, like multiple crosses of multiple people hanging.
Oh no, we're getting into the religious shit. Oh boy.
It's not the religious, it's just a bunch of crosses with
No,
people on.
just crucifixion.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're
because I
just
was gonna say we're
crucifixion.
not getting into drugs and religion, are we?
No, we're not getting drugs and religion. No. But you do see Dead Master and Strength on them, and they get brainwashed to end up actually hating Empress. Empress ends up beating the crap out of the main antagonist enough for she just dips. Or no, she doesn't beat it. She disappears, takes the other two, Dead Master and Strength, and go against her while she's weakened.
I see.
Empress obviously wins, knocking them out, erasing some of their memory, and with that causes her body to decay. And so she's on her trail on trying to find where the test tube that we originally saw in the first episode to go and wake up in another time portion where she can, you know, recover and help again, but not remember anything. That's where the
so she can go back to like her test tube and reset.
Yeah, reset.
But it requires her to lose all her memories. Okay.
Yeah, it requires she loses all her memories. At the same time, they realize that the wife, Jessica, David's wife, is actually was, you know, monitored by Smiley, and Jessica is like, at this time of this recording, you're our last hope, you know. You need to do this and that and whatever and stop Smiley and the main antagonist. while you see in the background, you see Smiley in the back just, smiling. The way that Smiley's design is weird. He,
Hmm.
at his first
A lot
glance,
about this show seems
yeah,
to be weird.
it is a weird show, I will give you that. But more or less, Smiley's weird. He has a bunch of babies. Like, statued babies. Like, it's weird. This show is actually very gruesome. There's a scene, there's a clip I'll show it's like earlier in the series that Empress wanted to save this woman, and she was enslaved, and she tells, hey, there's a train that's gonna, you know, you can save these prisoner enslaved women so they don't get, haha, the boom boom in the bed. And so what happened was they end up stopping the train, and she gets to it. She sees all the enslaved women, and there's two baby statues on the side of the gate on the prison. All of them are just like, yo, finally, freedom, freedom. And you hear tick, 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 tick from the babies, and then boom, the whole train explodes,
Jesus.
killing everyone besides Empress. Empress is obviously, bruised and scratched up, but she's holding a hand that she tried to save. She tried to save
Jeez.
the person that asked for the help, and so she's holding the whole chunk of her arm in her hand. It is so brutal and dark of a show as well.
Jesus.
So
Yeah, that's.
and
That's a lot. Yeah.
where I'm at the point is where they end up beating Smiley. They
Finale.
ending up to the climax. They beat Smiley finally, like straight up end his
Finally.
career.
Nice.
Originally they put a hole through his chest and they thought he was dead, but nope, he's alive and kicking well. But they end up brutally murdering him, and I'm
So
happy
he
for
actually
that.
dies.
Yeah, he actually dies. He's not coming back. His ability is weird. He's all like this handsome looking character, and then he evolves, and he's pink at first, and now he's more brighter. He's more of a darker pink with a whole baby head and all muscular, all muscle, just straight up just built, and he has a big baby head.
What is this show, dude?
And then later on, he figures out, oh, this is his final form, where it's the same form, more bigger, more buffier, all black with highlighting, with pink highlighting, like dark pink highlighting. They end up that's when he ends up dying, and thank God, and his whole career.
Yeah, jeez, that is a lot to take in.
It is definitely a lot to take in as a show, but it's really gonna throw you off some curves and here and there.
This seems like the show that you're gonna have to take like the fucking 10-minute brain breaks to truly process what you just witnessed.
Yeah, it is an interesting show.
Sounds like a wild ride.
It is definitely a wild ride. Where I left off is they end up saving Charlotte, like taking her back, and oh hi, David as my father, Monica as Monica. She's still being technical. So everyone's off, and they're now going to go fight the main antagonist at this point. I haven't figured out what that's gonna happen. So
I mean, that's a great way to fucking end it off for a review, though. How convenient.
This is definitely an ended way to fight it off. So if after this point on, yep, the ending is all unspoiled. So that's gonna be a fun ride for whoever's gonna continue watching.
Yeah,
the show.
ending's unspoiled for mine too.
Yeah.
To be honest, this is leaves both
of us
purely open.
Yep,
Yeah.
really
So we
open.
covered two very different stylings of shows,
Yeah.
whereas mine was more your typical. Yours is a very dark, brutal, aggressive type.
Yeah, it's definitely a dark, aggressive type.
Holy, yeah, that was interesting.
It
The
is
way you
an
described it
interesting
sounds
Like,
very
obviously-
interesting.
Yeah, obviously there's like, side story portions of the stories, like get to know how strength is, get to know Dead Master, whatever. I just covered a good chunk of the portions.
Well, yeah, same. There's plenty that happened in the show that I watched that I didn't cover.
Yeah, there's plenty.
But yeah.
But
I think, yeah,
I think we ended it pretty well.
I think
With
we're
this.
covered. Yeah. So thank you everybody who actually decided to stick around this long.
Yeah, this is a
Uh,
long video.
well, yeah,
I'm
they're gonna be long. They're full comprehensive reviews. It,
this is the first one, obviously.
yep,
It is gonna be the longest, most
yeah.
likely. We're gonna
These
take
are
notes.
going to change over time. We're gonna get
Yeah.
a better structure down, but
Mhm.
this was definitely a blast to get started. I'm really looking forward to keeping this going over the time, and
Mhm.
yeah, this was pretty good. It went better than I expected, to be
Yep.
honest.
Yep. This is one
uh,
take, just letting you know.
yeah, the only take that we failed, to be completely crystal clear and honest, the only take we failed was because my audio decided to
Yeah, it's
break.
just it straight up just went. Yeah, I'm
So
out. No.
we didn't even fail due to us stuttering or
Yeah.
anything. It was purely just something out of our control. So yeah, this was great. I
Yep.
hope you all enjoyed this installment of Seasonal Dumpster Dive.
Yep.
If you liked it, please do like throw a like on the video, even subscribe if you want to check in more.
And make
And if you
sure
want
to
to,
keep the bell notifiers
yeah,
on because that's
yeah,
yeah.
make sure to tick that bell, because if you want to get these up-to-date reviews on a monthly basis, having the bell there would be great, because we won't be releasing them always at the same time, because we have lives to live. We can't
Yeah. I have
we
my
can't
own
always
channel to
get
do
them
and
up at the same
work and
time every month. So definitely, if you do enjoy this and you want to see more, we will be covering one anime, hopefully every month, unless there's not a lot to cover, in which case we will announce that there will be a lack of that.
yep.
But the hope is to be able to cover one obscure show a month. And this
Yep.
next will be from the summer 2022 lineup. So I hope you're all ready for that, and
Yeah.
have a great morning, evening, night. Enjoy your time. And this is Josh and Jay of
Yep.
Seasonal Dumpster Dive signing
Signing
out for
out.
the night.